feel like I'm a little late on this, but I do want to talk about it because it's important. The IEA urged swift cuts in oil demand, encouraged remote work, and less air travel. This is from a couple of days ago. The International Energy Agency is calling on governments to take measures to reduce oil demand by pushing remote working, reducing speed limits, and encouraging a shift toward public transport. Governments are being urged to push remote working, reduce speed limits, and encourage shifts toward public transport alongside potential restrictions on car use in major cities, according to a report from the International Energy Agency. Since the U.S. and Israel launched military strikes against Iran on February 28th, oil prices have surged above $100 a barrel, rattling economies and exposing the fragility of energy markets. The IEA describes the current disruption as the largest supply shock in modern history, driven by escalating tensions in the Middle East that have effectively closed a vital trade passage, accounting for 20% of global oil production and transport, roughly 15 million barrels of crude oil, and 5 million barrels of oil products. The resumption of transit through the Strait of Hormuz is the single most important action to return to stable oil and gas flows and reduce the strains on markets and prices. In the interim, countries around the world are taking a range of measures to increase supply and to reduce the impact of sharp price rises on consumers. Road transport makes up roughly 45% of global oil demand, though its share varies widely from about 1/3 in South Korea to as much as 2/3 in parts of Europe and Latin America. In wealthier economies, passenger cars are the main driver, accounting for around 60% of energy use on roads. The IEA also suggests that cutting back on air travel where alternatives are available could deliver significant savings. In the short term, the IEA said business flights alone could be reduced by around 40%, and if widely adopted through corporate travel reduction efforts, this could lower jet fuel demand by between 7 and 15%. The United Airlines is already kind of sniffing around for a bailout on that and is saying that oil won't fall below $100 before next year. In response to the ongoing global crisis, several countries have expanded remote work. Philippines and Pakistan have introduced 4-day work weeks for government employees. Sri Lanka has shut public offices on Wednesdays. Thailand, Vietnam, and Laos are actively promoting working from home. Similar measures were seen across Europe during 2022 and 2023 during the energy crisis, when governments also urged employees to stay home and cut oil demand. The elevated cost could put European refiners under serious stress in a worst-case scenario, likely triggering demand destruction and forced cuts in refinery runs as feedstock becomes prohibitively expensive. The current crisis is shaping up to be the largest disruption to crude supplies in the history of the global market. The IEA also warned that rising energy costs risk hitting the poorest households hardest. In the EU, leaders gathered at a key summit on Thursday to discuss short-term measures to alleviate consumers' electricity bills, including national taxes, network fees, and carbon costs. The European Commission president recognized that the war against Iran is having an immediate impact on energy. EU leaders have so far repeated that the EU 27 is mostly dealing with an energy pricing crisis, but for the time on Thursday, the European Commission president told reporters, without elaborating further, that the ongoing crisis raises questions of future supply risks, adding that, quote, "we must take action," unquote. So that's the European situation, and we'll keep an eye on that as time goes on.